Thank you for being here today.
Oh, my
We don't have
pleasure.
our cups, Molly. We're not going to drink.
I'm okay. I'll
Okay.
save my cocktails for later.
Okay, we're in
Coffee.
the tis the season.
That's right.
Right. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. This is hard right now, Kathy. I have to tell you. You know, you send me an email and say, let's talk about peace, and I go, where do I even start? Where do I even think about this thing when everything is just feeling so tumultuous right now and so pulled in so many different directions that this is not an easy time of year.
And it never is. But you've done such a fabulous job, Molly. Honestly, I've just been so amazed and impressed, though not for the first time, at the many ways that you have hunkered down with our school, going from in-class education in March to with the SNAP overnight.
That's right.
Right? I think you guys were supposed to be on break.
The pandemic hit the day before our March break, our 2-week March break, and there went my March break.
There went your March break, there went your summer,
Yep.
there went so many things.
Yep.
But you pulled it off. And now the school is open again.
Yes.
We count every day a blessing that it is open.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
When I see those beautiful children line up outside and see those particular couple of kids run down the street on their scooters or into my arms, it makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I've appreciated being at the cocktail parties that the parents have thrown.
Those were fun,
They
right?
were great. They were so amazing. And the parents were so appreciative of you and your staff. And it was good to hear that, right?
Absolutely. And the stories of everybody. You know, when we're doing this in a virtual setting, it's hard to know how much we're going to be able to read each other and register community and joy. And it was there, even on a computer. It was quite delightful. And learned some little secrets and stories about people in our community that I didn't know before. So that was really fun.
So as we think about the challenges of the time and how difficult it is and how hard it is to find peace, we also want to register those moments, right? We don't want to minimize them or just, blow them over, because really that's the essence of your job. And the essence of who you are,
No, thank you for that reminder. I have a habit, of course you know this, working with me for 4 years, where, okay, this great thing has happened, okay, but we're moving on from that because I have this other 14 things that maybe are not going so right I have to work on. And you have definitely helped me to register those moments of joy, of success. And I have a few other people in my life who force me to stop and pause and go, no, sit into that glory, sit into that pride for a moment of what's actually happened for you.
And by the way, have some peace about it, right? We're here to talk about peace.
Yes.
So letting yourself absorb that as a peaceful moment, because I think in general, we don't sit with the good long enough, right? We sit with anxiety for days and weeks and months, and we just let it gnaw on us and interrupt our time, our day. But I wonder what would happen if we began to sit with the peace, at least for a little while. And let it,
I think for me at least, when I think about sitting with peace, I have to wrestle with the guilt, because usually sitting with peace means needing to stop, needing to slow, needing to maybe pause something or take some moment of solitude, or something that might feel like I'm not doing enough or I'm not giving enough. And I think I need to work on registering for myself not to be guilty about that stopping to say this is a good thing, that I'm peaceful, that I'm centered, isn't sacrificing something else, that actually that is going to feed me and allow me to then tackle those harder moments. And we've had this conversation before about being women and wanting to fix it all and wanting to try to hold on to it all and do it all and do all of it right. And I feel like sometimes when I sit with a moment for peace, I wrestle with some of those maybe prescribed gender stereotypes regarding kind of what is a female's role. So that's, so it's a wrestle moment.
And we know that old habits die hard. And certainly I resonate with that mindset, certainly as an African-American woman. It's never quite enough. But in fact, it never is it?
Well, there's always another day. There's always another issue and always another thing. So
just when we think we're just about there, then boom. And this whole pandemic is true to that form, right?
Yeah, I'm looking back at our town hall, the last one we had in person, and showing our projections and the joy and the clapping and the excitement, the bathrooms and all this stuff, and it's like we're right there and we can touch it, and then boom, it gets ripped right from underneath us. So registering that and going, okay, now this is our new reality.
Yes.
So where do I find center? Where do I find a point of peace and rest to then go, okay, how do I then pivot? How do I then adjust?
Mm-hmm. 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 So that's the question. I'm going to ask you that question back. So what would that look like? And you know, we're in Advent now, and I know you're going to get a Christmas break, hopefully, prayerfully, you know. I know until then, there's probably going to be a lot of things to get done, right, as we close out 2020 and look forward to 2021, knowing that in any moment, in any hour, right, the school might shift completely. But with that said, where might you find some moments of peace? What might that look like for you, Molly?
Yeah. I think my challenge is the places I've found peace before are no longer available for me because of the pandemic. I have been a person who found peace in physical activity. I loved indoor cycling and could scream in a dark place on a loud music and get all of that out, even though it might not have looked peaceful from the outside. Let's just be real here for a second. If you watched me in a spin class, there's nothing quote peaceful about the outward appearance, but I would walk out feeling like a weight had been lifted off of me. So it's how do I find that weight coming off when I don't have that thing I'm used to? So it's about trying to find new ways of establishing that. I'm going to tell you honestly, Cathy, I don't think I've found it yet. I don't work out well at home. Home is where I sit on a couch and snuggle with my dog and my husband. It's not the place where I get my sweat on and scream really loudly. I do love walking in our city. It makes me very happy. Recently, walks have been feeling harder because it's the reminder of the new normals and the things that, seeing everybody in masks or, socially distancing or the storefronts that are closed. Sometimes those walks are not always the best reminders of, the joy and the hope and the peace. So I'm kind of struggling with that a little bit. What have you found for yourself, Cathy, recently to help find that moment of center for you?
Well, I live alone and I don't have pets. So it's easier, a little bit easier. But what I found is I need sleep. That's the first thing. Because the moment I'm awake, my mind and my body, like my spirit, I'm on go, right? And so as a pastor, most often, not only am I managing my own anxieties and fears, and let's face it, this season is fraught with that, but often I'm also aware of other people's energy, right? And where they are, and so I have to, at the end of the day, I have to try to sleep. And renew and rest. And then I start my mornings with prayer, right? As you know, I've talked about this. I have a prayer journal. And some days I just write a ditto. Because I just prayed that prayer yesterday and it hasn't changed. And God, until I see something new, it's just going to be ditto.
Repeat.
That's right. Or sometimes I'll just draw a smiley face and I'll put a dot, the eyes, and a smile and an exclamation point and say, right? But it just allows me to focus myself and my energy. And to go inward a little bit, right? And I've written about this in my blog. I love music. Like I love music. I have, spiritual music that I listen to, but I also have my Otis Redding and my Aretha Franklin, and Tina Turner. I have music for the occasions, right? But I think whatever it is, we have to find things, and it changes, right? Like it just changes because, we're changing, and this whole time has been so hectic. I'm really, like, when I've taken the Myers-Briggs assessment test, like I borderline introvert extrovert. A lot of pastors are introverts. Most people don't realize that because
that is interesting.
when we're on, we're on.
Yeah, you're giving
right?
it all.
But I'm much more of an introvert than people probably think, right? And so I crave really like being alone sometime, right? Just not having to be responsible, not having to make plans. I found that I don't like to make plans, with friends too far ahead of time because I don't want to disappoint them and make them upset. But the truth is, when that time comes, I may not have the capacity to be what they need me to be. And so I just try to manage myself, manage my capacity to engage. And even with my own family, right? Like my kids, my siblings, my friends, because so we're all in it. And, early on, I started a Saturday prayer group with 5 other women because I needed to pray with people, right? Like I have my own prayer time, but I also need to pray with people. And it's been wonderful because what we do is we take turns praying for each other. Like we will name our prayer concerns or our joys. And then, so let's say I will say what I want to be prayed for. And then I would say, I'm going to pray for Molly today. And then you would say yours, and then you'd pray for the next person. But what happens is as we go around, you hear someone praying for you, someone calling your name, someone registering in their spirit what is on your heart and naming that back in the community of other people. So that exercise on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock has been so transformative. And I started it out of my own need, right? And so the point is that we have to spend time with ourselves so that we can be aware of what we need. And then if it's not there, we can start it. We can initiate it. Because somebody else probably also has that need that they may not even know yet. And I was very discerning about the women that I invited in, and we're not all clergy, right? They're from different walks of life, but how often do you hear someone praying for you specifically by name?
Just the thought of it, honestly, brings tears to my eyes a little bit.
Well, I always pray for you, Molly.
Thank you, Cathy.
Absolutely,
But
absolutely.
just the thought of slowing down and letting somebody else register you. Right? Because it's one thing to register ourselves, and that's equitably is important, right? We need to take moments where we're just sitting with ourselves. But to give somebody the opportunity to register you, I think one of the things that shifted for me this year at the school is that I have a staff of incredible women upstairs who are registering me in a way that I'm not used to yet in this role. So this past week when everything, or I guess a few weeks ago when everything was in tumultuous times with the Department of Education, right? One of our teachers stayed with me and Presley all the way to close to 7 o'clock at night because she wanted to make sure that I was supported as I was making the decision about whether to keep our school open or not. Somebody was registering me. So when I opened that door from my emergency Department of Health meeting that lasted an hour and, all of the feelings around that, there she was just going, "Are you okay? How can I help you?" Right? That's what you're saying is the importance of letting other people in to register you. I also am hearing you say that it doesn't have to be something big. Yes, your prayer circle is something you've set up. That's a kind of standing piece. That's probably a good hour of time, I would guess, on Saturday morning. But it also can be something small. It can be a quiet moment just in the morning before you get started. For you, your devotional, your prayer journal. Maybe for me, it's just slowing down on my walk with Uno in the morning. Maybe it's not just going through the motions of, okay, I've got to get him there so he can do his thing, and then we can do our thing, and then maybe just slow down on that walk and just focus on his cute little trot. And the little smells that he has, or the little buddies in the neighborhood, and pausing for the small moments. Because I think, Cathy, if I'm thinking about setting something up or having to do something more, bigger, I can see myself, that's not going to make me so peaceful.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm going to feel like that's more pressure.
Absolutely.
But if I take something that I've already done and just slow that process down, maybe
being mindful.
Yeah.
Mindful. Yeah.
Because that's certainly something that we're all as a school working on this year, is this kind of mindfulness practice.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And initially when we started it, there was some concern around, well, this is going to take time out of my schedule. And one of the things that another one of our educators upstairs kept telling me is that it takes time if you don't.
That's right.
Because then you're backtracking the whole time.
That's right.
If you take, 5 minutes, not even 3, and register a couple deep breaths with your group of children, and listen carefully to what's around you for another 3 breaths, that's no time at all.
Wow.
And then think about what energy you're then starting for your day from there.
That's right.
So it doesn't have to be this big thing.
No, no. And I think, and I've been very conscious of how many people have died. And I think these people are not on vacation, they're gone, and, it just breaks my heart. But every day that goes by when we're like, we're not gonna get it back. And we can't wait until there's a cure and everybody's vaccinated and everybody, we gotta do it now.
Yeah.
All we have is now.
Yeah.
And mindfulness is something that I think we all should practice. Just paying attention.
Just pay attention.
Because that's when we don't is when we make mistakes, we use triple time. And you and I've talked at times about this whole shifting the paradigm. Yeah. Like shifting this, expectation of doing it all and, well, it's a lie. Truly, because no one can.
I know.
But
yet we still feel like we have to.
Yes, because we listen to other people more than ourselves. Because if the only voices we have are external, then we're on that roller coaster, we're on that treadmill. And that's what slowing down and the mindfulness gives us, is an opportunity to listen to ourselves.
Oh, and you would use the word faith.
Well, yes, I would use that word.
You would
faith.
use that word faith to turn inward and recognize that who are you to impress? Who are you there trying to fix?
Yes.
If you have faith in yourself, faith that this is happening for a reason, that we are going to, whatever that is, we don't know what it is, we might never know what it is. But this is happening, and if we slow down and turn inward, we'll find a new avenue, a new road, a new way of being, a new way of thinking to allow for growth. Because we've said all along, if we get to the other side of this pandemic and April comes and we're all vaccinated and everything goes back to normal, then what the heck were these last 8 months about, 7 months about?
I don't want to go back.
I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back there.
No.
Because I do know that even though this is hard, I am in a more successful place in my career. I'm in a more successful place in my marriage. Maybe our school could use a few more kids. Maybe my husband's job could use a few more dogs. But if we're always going, well, this could, and if this was, and this was, then we're not registering that I have that teacher standing outside my door.
That is correct.
I have you to partner with. I have a husband that is making me dinner right now at home. That I have to register those moments, and if I can find that peace internally, then the rest of it, it'll manage. I'll be okay.
You will. And in the meantime, we are alive. We will be alive. And a lot of people won't. No. And I treasure that. I want to be alive, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. I don't want to be so angry and so bitter or so disappointed that I cannot see the good that is happening. And you just named so many good things, so many things that are the essence of what life is, right? We're always, gosh, we're never going to be enough. I can't tell you, it's never enough. I used this illustration in a sermon recently. Somebody shared it with me. It's like, we all sit under shade trees that someone else planted. The best we can hope for is to plant a few shade trees that people will come along behind us and they get to sit for a while and then they plant. Because it wasn't meant for us to do it all, right? And we have to shift those narratives that tell us that we have to be everything all the time, right? And each day we do the best like we can, and some days I get an A, and some days I get a B, and some days I get
I can't imagine you getting a B,
Yeah,
Cathy.
no,
I'm just saying.
I can get a B. Sometimes I get a D.
All right, I'll take
We
your word for that.
won't say all those days, but
I'll take your word
but
for
I'm
it. I don't know about
self-aware
that.
enough to know that some days. And you know what? You know, I'm not going to initiate something, but if I get a D on a certain day, I'm okay with that, right? Like I don't want to ever be completely out of character of who I am, but I'm not going to get an A every day, and I'm okay with that.
Well, when we're trying to hold it together, and we're trying to find that peace, we're gonna mess up on the way, right? Like, but it goes back to, once again, the feeling of guilt and giving yourself permission to be able to say no, or to let a feeling come, and let everybody who's around you for that feeling manage that reaction, whatever it is. But and for me to not worry about that reaction, just let it happen.
Yes.
But it's, you know, that's easier said than done sometimes. Sometimes those things kind of sneak up on you and you don't know what's going to happen, and then it's happening.
Yeah, and you know, somebody's impression that day is that, you know, we didn't make the measure, we didn't make the mark, and that is true. That is true. It is certainly their truth, right?
But that doesn't have to change the next day or the 5 minutes
that's not
later.
the sum of who we are.
Right.
That's an episode. And sometimes there may be several episodes, but it's not the sum, it's not the totality, right, of who we are. And I think right now, the gift that we give each other is a measure of grace and civility, right? Like right now, we all need to just be a little more patient, maybe a little kinder, a little more, I don't even want to use the word tolerant, because that sounds like we're just tolerating behavior, but you know what? It's
more
not
empathetic.
Yeah, everything is not all that serious all the time. It just isn't. We say so.
And there's some serious things that are happening right now, and,
yes.
and we need to register those.
Yes.
But you can't sit with it all the time, because then
No.
it just weighs you down, and then where do you go?
Yes,
Yeah.
no. When I look at the news and I see these people in the hospital, and I hear these families, and I hear these statistics about people dying. And as a pastor, you know, we want to be in the hospitals. We want to be with people who grieve. It's a huge thing when someone dies.
You want to be there shepherding.
You want to be there. You want to be there when people are lonely and wondering how they're going to get through these holidays, right? They can't go home. They can't have Christmas dinner the same. And, you know, yes, we're going to do what we're supposed to do, but, you know, there's a lot of sadness. And when I hear that, I want to do better for myself because I can, right? I want to be a little bit more gentle with myself, and I want to be more gentle with other people. Now, you know, again, we may not always do that, but nothing that we go through compares to the loss of your life or someone you love, right?
Well, and the fact that I have my 2 parents.
Yes, you do.
And I love them, they love me, they're in their mid-70s,
Yes.
they're still alive.
Yes,
In the
Molly.
midst of all of this, like,
Yes.
I need to register that.
Yes,
And
you do.
I can't sit next to them at Thanksgiving. I may or may not be able to see them over Christmas, but that's okay, because I feel like I'm trying to lift the weight off all of these kind of holidays, like the days, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be about the day.
No.
It doesn't have to be about the tradition. Like, okay, we have this amazing tradition in my family where my sister, wherever she is, she piles us all in the car and we drive to my parents' place and we open our stockings and we have our Jewish bagel breakfast, you know, classic New York Christians with our Jewish bagel breakfast on Christmas morning. That's not going to happen this year.
No.
And something that my family and I have been talking about is letting go of the tradition so that we have the permission to just blow it out of the water. Why are we trying to recreate something? Why don't we try to do something new. And if that is on that day, great. And if it's not, who cares? If it's a new little tradition with just my sister, or just my husband, or just my mom and dad, you know, maybe it's not all of us together, but that's okay. But it's one of those, it's easier said than done. You know, we haven't gotten to Christmas yet, so talk to me in January when I see you again after the break. But I'll see, I don't know how it's going to go, because it's one thing to say it, and it's another thing to wake up on Christmas morning and go, this isn't what it was, you know. And how do you kind of manage that give and take and that rub?
Well, I think you're well on your way, because you can name it and you can talk about it. And what I know is if this was a situation at school, you'd figure it out just like that, because you did.
And I will, and I continue to do so.
That is correct. So take all of that energy of, we're in the classroom, we're on the elevator, we're playing in the basement, but overnight we had to shift and do something else, something new to what Christmas with family is going to look like.
That's a really good
this year.
point.
Yeah.
And we didn't try to recreate school on the computer. What we did is we tried to hold on to the integrity of the program, our kind of core philosophy of play, of love, of connectivity, of community, of reflection, and said, what does that mean on a computer? And I now, and I all right,
Okay,
Cathy.
you're going to write me a check.
I got to, seriously. Dropping my mic cord and everything.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Way to serve me there. I'm like, yeah.
But bringing that same kind of integrity, that same kind of intentionality, and it'll be okay. And
It'll
you know,
be okay. I think
it'll be better than okay. Because next year, you know, you can blow it out. You can really blow it out, right? And then you'll have the stories, right? And you'll have a level of resilience and smartness. You know, I love your parents. They're amazing, right? They've been so kind and so generous to me and to the church. You know, you guys, you've got this.
I'm
And
so lucky, and that's is registering those blessed moments. As I said, that I have two parents in their 70s that are alive and healthy, and you know, not always listening to what they need to be doing right now, and hence the reason they're going to stay over there and I'm going to stay over here. But you know, that's a blessing.
Yes, it's huge. And you know, Molly, one of the biggest things with all of this is letting go. Yeah, that's so hard, right? And I've had to do so much of it. But we've got to just let go. Let go. And that's what the season of Advent gives us, right? Because Christ came unlike anybody would have imagined.
As a tiny baby, nobody was
As a
expecting
tiny,
that.
in a stable.
To the poorest of individuals, to an unwed mother, to all of the things that you would normally find
that
in
is
the
correct.
Messiah.
That is correct. That is correct.
That's not where that comes from. No.
So for all of those that were looking for this knight on a horse with a dagger and a sword, that got shattered.
He was a tiny baby.
It was a tiny baby. And I think Christ wants to be born in us again. That's the message of Advent, that how do we get ourselves ready? And what I know is when I'm chaotic, when there's no peace, I can't even see the simplest things. And so then we start being what we say others are, right? We say that they want us to be this and they have these things. Then that's what we become too, because we think that that's the only way, right?
Especially in the holiday season.
Yeah.
Everybody's running around here. Everybody's got the Amazon carts filled with whatever, and the packages are coming.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Maybe we do something different this year. Instead of giving, I don't know, gadgets and sweaters and things like that, maybe we just don't do it. But we can decide not to do it, right? And to make ourselves less chaotic so we can have more peace, so we can see the signs.
And just looking for the little moments. Like
Yes.
I think what we're saying,
Yes.
you know, even before when we were talking about slowing down and finding the little nuggets of time, like that's what Advent is, right?
Yes.
It's opening yourself up for the permission to find the little moment, to find the surprise, to find the awe, to find the wonderment. And maybe it is just, I don't know, a beautiful poinsettia that somebody has put out on a doorstep. Maybe it's that, sweet little interaction that Uno has, nuzzling somebody else in the park, or just something small. It doesn't have to be these big,
That's right.
big things. It's not
That's
the
right.
night on the horse.
No. And knowing that most often that permission comes from within. Because if we're waiting for someone else to give us permission, they may not, because they have their expectation. They have what they want from us, right? So we have to say, I'm giving myself permission. I am worthy of this peace. I am worthy of this love, of this self-love, that has nothing to do with selfishness. I tell you, and when I came in here the other day and I saw all of this, right? Like it was just.
The kids have noticed it too.
Yes.
They're dropping their scooters
yes,
off.
that's a moment.
Yeah.
That's a moment. And the last few years I haven't put up the Christmas tree in the parsonage. I probably won't put up the big Christmas tree, but I do want to put up some garland and some lights and things like that, because I want it to look festive, right? For me, whether anyone comes or not.
Well, that's been a debate in my household, and I am not giving in. We are putting up all of our
Yes,
decorations.
good for you.
I have that beautiful garland that you gave me my first year here with all of the stockings and the advent
Oh,
calendar.
yes, I remember now.
That is going up.
Good.
And Randy, this is
Good.
happening, whether you
Good.
want it or
Yes.
not, we're getting a tree.
Yes. That sounds just like peace, Molly.
Well, because then you have
Oh,
the
God.
lights and
Yes.
decorations and
Yes.
gosh, it feels good.
Yes.
You put on one of my favorite Christmas movies is A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
And I can probably recite most of it by heart at this
Yeah.
point. And you put that on with the only lights on except the ones that are on the tree or around the house, and you breathe.
You breathe.
You
You
get under the
breathe.
blanket.
Yes.
Breathe in, and that's peace.
Yes.
I don't have to search for
Yes.
this other thing. It's there.
It's there.
Yeah.
It's there. And it's God's good gift to us. And that's what the season, we've got it so contrary, because we have filled it with this and that. But that was not the intent.
Yes. Not the intention here.
No. So maybe this year we can all try to do something a little differently. Maybe, as much as I hate to say it, maybe since we can't do all this other stuff, maybe we will be still a little more, right?
And maybe actually be able to really recognize the true meaning of Advent.
Maybe.
If we're not in this place of being pulled 14,000
Yes.
directions and having to
Yes.
wrap this 14th gift and,
That's right.
oh, I forgot my friend over here that needs something, if I can just let all of that go.
Yes.
Then actually this Advent will be more connected to the meaning of Advent this year. I
Maybe.
hadn't thought about that, Cathy.
Who knows? Wouldn't that be a miracle?
Yeah. Wouldn't that be a moment of peace?
That would indeed be a moment of peace. Because what I know is that January will bring its stuff. But at least if we can have had a respite, if we can settle down for a little bit, and I think we really have to pursue it every day. And I say pursue it, we have to go after it with the same kind of intentionality, imagine that, as we do other things, whether it's in the morning or in the evening or throughout the day, and whatever that is. If it's not spin class, it's whatever, but constantly recreating it as a priority. And if we come out of this a little bit better because of it, I think it will have been a good Advent, a good Christmas. Maybe Christ will be born in us,
It feels really good to hear you say that. Because it actually feels like it's registering with me a little bit. And that's hard. That's a lot coming from you. You know that. That's a lot coming from me.
Well, and I'm going to be calling you out on it.
I know you will. Trust me. You're my accountability buddy right here. Because you and I have not stopped, Cathy.
No.
Look, you tell me about, hitting the ground running in March and flipping, and you did the same thing.
Well, that's what.
You shifted. How do we have a congregation when we don't have a sanctuary? How
But
do we have
do.
community? How do we celebrate Christ on Sundays when we can't be in the space together? You and the staff have made that happen, and frankly have been given us the opportunity to connect even further with people that we wouldn't have normally connected with because we were relying on this space.
Yeah.
And now we are in a virtual space where I can worship with my parents every Sunday without having them be here in the sanctuary with us. And that's a gift, and that has been wonderful, but has taken an enormous amount of work.
Yes.
So I think stopping and sleeping
Yes.
sounds really good right
Yes.
about now.
Yes, but also to our point that we learn something new.
Right.
Because that's what love does.
Right.
Whether love of self or love of God or love of someone else, we figure it out. We figure it out, and we're always having to figure it out because life is always changing, right? There's always something. But when you love something or love someone, that's what you do. And, you know, the best case is when you have partners. You talked about that, and certainly, you know, anybody that knows me knows how I feel about our staff and our congregation, and just where how we have emerged through all of this, right? And I think in ways that we wouldn't have gotten to.
Oh, absolutely
Yeah, no,
not.
no.
Hey, you're doing Coffee with Cathy. That was discussed my second year here, I believe. So nothing like a pandemic to make that all happen. Here we are talking with cameras around us, Cathy. Didn't think that was going to happen.
Just when I was feeling peaceful, Mom. But again, we do what we have to do.
That's right.
Yes. And that's what we do. And we just have to make sure that we're factoring our own selves, that we don't get lost in the doing of what we have to
That's
do.
what happens when we're leaders, right? We
That
give
is
and
correct.
give and give out.
That is
And,
correct.
you know, I hope I always look to this right, the left of me, and
Yes.
know that I'm walking with people, and I am,
Yes,
and it's
yes,
amazing. But
yes.
I do forget to look left and right, and I
Yeah.
just keep going.
That is
forward.
correct. Yes.
And I don't ever necessarily look right back in here.
Yeah. But that's the gift. You know, what is that about when you're on an airplane, you put the mask on yourself? Yeah. And again, we've been taught and socialized to think that any kind of self-care is a sign of something else, but it is so not. And then we have to teach people that we are worthy of care.
And that
Right.
might be a habit shift. Like if
Yeah.
somebody's not used to hearing me say no,
Correct.
or saying, actually, no, I'd like to do this instead.
Yes.
That might take some adjusting on
Yes.
the part of the people around
That
me.
is correct.
But I can't change their reaction. I can only change my
Correct.
action.
Correct. But people who love you genuinely, over time, they'll appreciate that and respect it. And it is a learning curve, right, on both sides, and it's risky, you know, but it's so worth it because we cannot get lost, not completely, and especially for people who care so much and work so hard.
And you've told me this as a leader, we also have to model what we want from others. So if we're talking about finding peace and mindfulness and self-care, yet we're not practicing ourselves, well then that's like hypocrisy at its finest,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's not who I am as a leader.
No.
So why would I make that any different if we're talking about my own personal
Correct.
journey and self-care and self-worth?
And then, you know, it's easy to get angry with people when they don't seem to care about us. But why should we when we don't seem to care about ourselves? You know, we expect more from other people than from our own selves. And how to shift that narrative to say, you know, gosh, we're far from being selfish. We're not even on that street. We don't even live in that town. But with that said, you know, I deserve some me time, some downtime, a break. And I hope you're okay with it. You know, you may not be, but I'll take the risk. And if, at the very least, we will have clarified our relationship. And then that's worth something too, right?
Yeah.
So.
Finding the day to just be in the bathroom.
Yes. Yes. That's
That
what I'm.
sounds so glorious.
Yeah,
Right now.
you
Can I
know
just say-
that's.
Can I just name that right now? A
Just
day in
name
the
that, because
bathroom?
that sounds peaceful. That sounds like peace. Light a candle or two, you know? Yeah.
Sure, television,
Yes,
whatever.
yes.
A double pot of tea that morning.
That's right.
Just a day in the bathroom. Oh.
I'm sensing some peace
Yeah,
in
it's real good.
in your household, Molly. I'm sensing some peace. Thank you so much. I love you. So grateful for you. Thank you. Yes. Yes. It's good. Merry Christmas. Happy Advent. Yes. 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 I'm willing. I'm willing. I hope you are too. Thanks, Molly. Mwah.